Part of the whole thing
That's
with Yosef
telling, isn't
and
it?
his
Yeah.
past is that it's kind of, he's been very modest about it. So it would appear that, like many of his generation, he did heroic things, and we virtually didn't hear. So and it's also a different age. When we were children, for example, when he went to Germany to testify against the Nazi who killed his family.
The article with he writes about.
So I don't think we were really conscious.
We were actually. I remember being
Yes,
conscious of it, but I never remember asking him when he came home, how did that go? I never remember being concerned about the trauma it might cause him to revisit that. I can remember hearing him shrieking, and hearing Mum say, "De cholemst nog, it's only a dream." He walked everywhere. He had a little valiskale, and he'd walk out every day with his bachele, and he's always wore a suit. Always wore a suit, and he'd walk out with his little bachele and his little tuchasel and his sort of chufak. And I think he hated every minute of his working day life. I think he absolutely hated it. But he lived to actually catch up with all his chaverim in Brunswick Street and in Flinders Lane, and so he'd spend his days going around. He had a trimmings factory in Coburg, but he spent most of the day getting to there.
His connections, particularly within the ALP, was a benefit to a lot of Jewish people, business people, because he was very good friends, acquaintances, whatever, with Frank Crane. And when they needed licenses to import stuff, he used to get it for them.
And Yosef was very much in the Labour inner circle, though he was never really seen.
He came from as many Jews did, from a religious home, and he was a learned kind of man. I mean, he had a friendship with Chaim Gutnick. And today, I don't think you can have those sorts of friendship where your views are so extremely opposite. But they had an intellectual kind of friendship.
But he was tolerant, and he wasn't. When they had people over for dinner, if he got bored with the conversation or it was just not for him, he wouldn't even excuse himself. He'd just get up off the table and he'd go in, and you could hear the typewriter clacking away.
That's the sound of our childhood. Yosef's typewriter clacking away all the time. That beautiful Olivetti typewriter.
The task of the Aufbau was to gather people who weren't heading to Israel and provide them with two things, basically: a working skill, and a visa.
I remember. Very hard, but I will. Well, that is me, Malaova, Gishen, from home. That is after the war, maybe 6 months after the war. I was already in Lublin. And that's how I looked. Yes, that is Yosef ORBACH. It's my husband. That photo was taken in Rome in 1946. before we were married. It was the first conference after the war, the survivors, the first Hayalim who came to Rome. We met at that time with the Pope, which we accused him, my husband and I and some others, that he hasn't done anything to help the Jewish people in Poland, which he could. If he would have said only one word, don't betray them, that he did. He didn't have any answers.
And the other enduring memory, I think, is that he was forever going to some meeting or other.
I was just thinking of the referat. He was going to a referat all the time.
All the time.
I was just thinking that myself. Poor long-suffering mum.
That was taken in 1948 in Rome, after the establishment of the State of Israel. At that time, my husband was a Bundist, and he was against Israel, Zionism. So his delegation were screaming against Israel. We all voted. And I was in the middle to vote against my husband to take them out of the hole, let them go out if they're against Israel. But then they changed their minds because they realized that the only and only Israel is our home.
Yosef was always a pragmatist in terms of his ideology, so he understood that the Jewish state was important. And he was not part of the Bund resistance to the concept of supporting the State of Israel. I think in many ways his thinking was always evolving.
He was so many different people, wasn't he? He was kind of interesting, but he was bloody hot-tempered too. Do you remember he'd blow up and he'd and then he sort of everything was fine, and he bullshit. That was the word. My mum used to say the bullshit.
That's sort of like it's like grumbling, muttering, saying
Yosef bullshit, a bullshit. Yeah. Leave him alone. And he'd go into his room and then he'd hear he'd be clicking away, and then he'd come out and be all sweetness and light. Yeah. His absolute joy at becoming a Zayda was just extraordinary.
He didn't force his views on anyone. He had his own very strong views, and of course, as a committed socialist, he believed that religion was the opiate of the masses. Yom Kippur was not an event for him to go to shul, and so at the end of Yom Kippur, he would come to shul, stand outside shul, pick mum up and walk her home. There's this whole dimension to Yosef that we really didn't know. We knew of him as a very caring breadwinner and somebody who was intensely protective of us.
But I think his community involvement and his Yiddish side of it was to fulfil that intellectual and inner soul of him. He needed to fulfill that hole somewhere.
For me, this exercise has been really amazing, because it's only in sifting through that we start to discover who Yosef was.